Your keyboard, the one right in front of you, was designed to slow you down in the 1870s. And yet, you are still using it to drive the most advanced AI of the 21st century. It is a peculiar irony, right? You are sitting at the absolute cutting edge of human innovation. You have access to global computing power that would have been pure science fiction just a few decades ago. But look at your hands. They are performing the exact same mechanical dance, a dance originally designed to stop Victorian-era typewriters from jamming. Think about it. The QWERTY layout wasn't birthed from a quest for peak human efficiency. It was a compromise. Christopher Scholes and his team realized that if typists moved too quickly, the metal type bars inside the machine would collide and tangle. The whole thing would grind to a halt. So they rearranged the keys to force a specific, sluggish cadence. They literally engineered a speed limit to keep the hardware from self-destructing. Fast forward 150 years. We have moved from physical brass bars to silicon, light, and neural networks capable of drafting manifestos in seconds. But we are still tethered to that 19th century constraint. I mean, every time you tap out a prompt for a generative AI, you are essentially throttling your own communication. You are trapped in a legacy loop, using an interface designed for mechanical failure to talk to a machine capable of near instantaneous thought. It is, quite frankly, absurd. Whilst the software industry races toward artificial general intelligence, the hardware remains stuck in the industrial age. We have effectively turned our most powerful digital tools into slow-motion machines because we refuse to abandon a layout that was only ever meant to prevent a physical mess. Think of it this way. It is like trying to drive a modern Formula One car on a dirt track built for horses and carriages. You have the engine of the future, but you are being restricted by a track layout designed for a completely different century. This creates a fascinating, if not slightly depressing, friction between human intent and machine execution. We are currently the bottleneck in our own technological evolution. We have been for the better part of a century. We keep upgrading the brain of the operation, yet we leave the hands in the Victorian era. The real question is this: at what point does this legacy anchor stop being a standard and start becoming the single biggest obstacle to the progress we claim to be pursuing? Silicon Valley has spent the last decade trying to sell you on the frictionless dream. If you believe the marketing brochures and the glossy keynote presentations, we were supposed to be living in a post-keyboard era by now. They promised us a world of seamless gesture control, where you would simply flick your wrist to manipulate data like you're in a high-budget sci-fi film. They sold us on voice assistants that would transcribe our deepest thoughts without us ever lifting our deepest thoughts, without us ever lifting a finger. It was the great dematerialization of the desktop, a push to make the machine disappear into the ether. But look at your workspace right now. The reality is that the promise of the touch-free utopia has hit a rather brutal wall. We tried the Leap motion controllers, we strapped on early VR headsets with ambitious hand tracking, and we shouted commands at smart speakers until our throats were dry. All of these solutions failed to replace the plastic board for one fundamental reason. They lack the one thing that keeps the human-computer relationship functioning: tactile feedback. When you type on a mechanical keyboard, you get a physical confirmation. That tiny bit of resistance and the audible click tell your brain that the action has been registered. It is a biological closed-loop system, you know? When you gesture into empty air or talk to an algorithm that struggles to differentiate between you and the background noise of your flat, you are left in a state of sensory limbo. You are essentially screaming into the void, hoping the machine caught your drift. This is not progress. It is just adding a layer of cognitive load to tasks that used to be second nature. The industry pushed these concepts because they wanted to own the input method. If they can control how you interact with the software, they can monetize the interface itself. But they underestimated the sheer efficiency of the QWERTY layout. It has been with us since the 19th century for a reason. It is a highly optimized, high-bandwidth communication channel between human and machine. I mean, trying to replace it with a clumsy gesture or a delayed voice command is like trying to replace a high-speed fiber connection with a carrier pigeon. We are currently trapped in a weird purgatory. We are surrounded by advanced neural networks that can generate human-like prose in seconds, yet we are still relying on a mechanical interface designed for manual typewriters to talk to them. We are waiting for the next great leap, but the current reality of our desktop setup tells a different story. It suggests that perhaps the keyboard is not the anchor holding us back, but the only thing keeping us grounded while the software tries to drift into the clouds. However, there is a far more invasive experiment happening right now, one that is attempting to bypass the hands entirely by going straight for the source code of our biology. The real issue? We aren't really using our keyboards to dictate to our computers anymore. Not really. We're using them to negotiate with an autocomplete engine that, honestly, has already decided what we're going to say next. You start typing an email. You see the suggestions pop up. It feels convenient, right? Like a little productivity hack to save you a few seconds of thumb work. But look a bit closer at the architecture of this interaction. That autocomplete function is a mirror. Every time you click one of those suggestions, you are essentially confirming the machine's hypothesis about how your mind works. Think of it like a gardener training a bonsai tree. At first, the tree grows in its own wild, unpredictable way. But the gardener comes along with wires and shears, bending the branches into a predetermined shape. Over time, the tree stops growing toward the sun and starts growing exactly where the wire tells it to go. That is precisely what's happening to our digital syntax. By constantly selecting words from a curated list, we're stripping away the idiosyncrasies of our own language. We are outsourcing our vocabulary to a large language model that optimizes for commonality rather than unique human thought. Your individual flair, your sarcasm, the specific way you structure a sentence, it all gets flattened out by an algorithm that prioritizes the most statistically probable response. But here's the darker truth. It isn't just about the degradation of creative expression. It's about the feedback loop we've built right into our desks. I mean, every single keystroke, every rejected suggestion, every selected phrase, it's all labeled data. It is training fuel. You aren't the customer here. You are the unpaid laborer refining the model. Each time you type, you're teaching the machine how you think, how you reason, how you react to stimuli. Your keyboard has become a closed-loop training circuit. You provide the input, the software nudges you toward an output, and the system logs the result to improve its accuracy for the next person in line. It's a remarkably efficient form of cognitive surveillance, isn't it? Just nicely wrapped in the guise of a productivity feature. The device learns your patterns so well that eventually, the machine isn't just predicting your words. It is predicting your intentions. You might think you're in control of the conversation, but when the software knows your reply before you've even consciously formed it, the line between human agency and algorithmic suggestion starts to blur. We are teaching our tools to replace us, one suggested word at a time. And honestly, this is only the beginning. Because the tech giants have realized that waiting for your fingers to hit the keys is far too slow for what they have planned next. Tech giants have realized that waiting for your fingers to hit the keys is far too slow for what they have planned next.